Hello. Like most of you across the world who are working from home, I too am in the same predicament. Welcome to my study. This paper is a part of a special discourse incubator on developing supply chain management theory. In this paper, we discuss how discourse analysis as a new methodology can be used for developing supply chain management theory. We have a multidisciplinary team on this paper. Professor Cynthia is a world expert in discourse analysis. Professor Steve Maguire is a professor in organization studies at the University of Sydney with a background in chemistry, and I have always been passionate about applying qualitative techniques in the supply chain management area. What is discourse analysis? Discourse analysis has been applied quite successfully in the organization management theory discipline. Discourse analysis involves the analysis of collection of text and documents, specifically looking at the role of language. Now, the role of language is really important in discourse analysis because it can question underlying assumptions, it can create no meanings, and it can also reconfigure the power dynamics across different actors. So discourse analysis within supply chain management area can actually bring certain actors that had been overlooked or ignored into focus. These could be employees, workers, not-for-profit organizations, the media, or the regulators. Now, let me give you an example how discourse analysis might play out in the supply chain management area. So, broadly within the operations management area, lean is a very dominant discourse. The proliferation of lean started with the publication of a seminal text, Lean, the Machine That Changed the World. It was published by Womack and Jones in 1990. This is one of the widely distributed and cited texts in supply chain management. According to Google Scholar, there are around 18,000 citations for this text. The ideas proposed by Womack and Jones were subsequently adopted across a number of different industries and different contexts. They also led to the creation of new strategies or new techniques such as just-in-time, business process re-engineering, and more recently, Six Sigma. So this is just to give you an example of how lean plays out and is a very important part of how discourse is applied there. As the paper that we were working on, it developed organically. So we looked at certain areas which were relatively mature in the operations management area. These were topics like lean and sustainability. And we looked at how discourse could be applied to more emerging areas, which was modern slavery and big data. So let me give you an example of how discourse analysis can be applied to an emerging topic such as modern slavery. So modern slavery is a relatively new discourse in the supply chain management area, which came through largely because the UN Sustainability Development Goals. Modern slavery, as an umbrella term, means extreme forms of labor exploitation. So it includes conditions where labor could be exploited, not paid their wages. There's physical and psychological abuse. There is debt bondage, and a range of such conditions. So as a result of the modern slavery problem, a number of countries across the world have instituted certain legislations. As a response to these legislations, which are more in terms of reporting requirements, a lot of organizations have to then make declarations in terms of what they're doing to address modern slavery in their supply chains. Now, discourse analysis can play a very important role over here, specifically in trying to understand modern slavery, is first of all how individual risks are being translated into organizational risks. The second thing is how modern slavery can play, how discourse analysis can play also a very important role is a lot of the problems of labor exploitations which are happening more upstream in the supply chain. How are they being addressed? So it brings some of those blind spots into focus in the supply chain. The third issue also is around how contracts may be rewritten. So, how are the contracts being rewritten? What is the language being employed in those contracts? Because these contracts between the buyers and the suppliers change a lot of times because of these modern slavery legislations. Also, it might change the power dynamics between the actors. For instance, buyers might choose to have legal sanctions against the suppliers who violate their terms and conditions. So this is it opens a new frontier for research, particularly within this domain. Looking at some of the other topics, for instance, in sustainability, it can change the type of questions we ask, right from harm reduction to how can we eliminate or harm elimination. For lean, it can help to us to look more closely inside what's happening in the organization, particularly at the employee at the worker level. For big data, which is being used as a panacea now for developing policies, how are those policies being used or being developed because of certain changes that are being made? So these are just a range of different applications. We encourage you to read the paper, and we have a list of references at the end, particularly in the appendix, which provide a guide on discourse analysis. In the discussion section in our paper, we build on propositions proposed by Carter and Ted in their 2015 paper. We sincerely hope that this paper provides supply chain scholars with a new methodological toolkit to address some of the very complex challenges of our time. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing any feedback.